Every day in America, it is estimated that more than 2.5 million birds are killed when they fly into windows. Here at home, a group called BirdSafe Maine is doing something about it. BirdSafe Maine is a collaboration among Maine Audubon, the University of Southern Maine, and the Portland Society for Architecture. Nick Lund of Maine Audubon and Alex Haba, an architect in Portland, joined us to talk about what people can do to help keep birds safe by changing buildings. We began with a simple question. What is it that causes birds to fly into windows?
Yeah, birds don't know what windows are, right? So windows are, if you think about it, kind of weird. They are reflective, and so if you're a bird flying through, you think you are seeing the sky or habitat. Or when lit from within, windows are just invisible. And we all have a friend, or maybe ourselves, who've walked into a plate glass window or a sliding glass door. That's what birds are doing too. They don't know what windows are, and so they collide.
It's estimated that close to 1 billion birds are killed in the U.S. every year when they fly into windows. Do you have any idea what the numbers are here in Maine?
Yeah, sure. So I work for Maine Audubon. BirdSafe Maine is a partnership that we've had with Portland Society for Architecture and USM. We've been monitoring the streets of Portland for 4 years and finding hundreds of dead birds on the streets. We've done some calculations, and we estimate that between 40 and 50,000 individual birds die just in the city of Portland every year.
Is this mainly, Alex, because Portland, unlike smaller towns, has high-rise buildings that have big plate glass windows?
That's a contributing factor. It's not the only factor, though. It has to do with where the buildings are in relation to its environment.
What BirdSafe is trying to do is reduce the number of birds going into windows. What, within reasonable costs and within reasonable expectations, can be done, Nick?
Sure. First of all, this is a problem that's actually really easily solved in Portland. Most of the buildings in Portland are bird safe already. The most dangerous buildings, really, the more glass you have on a building, the more dangerous it is. So a lot of newer buildings that are floor-to-ceiling glass, big mirrored facades, those are more dangerous than a lot of the buildings that we have in Portland that have smaller windows or bricks or things like that. And so, traditionally, there's very common solutions to this problem that use a lot of the architecture we have in Portland already. But there's also a lot of products that are coming onto the market or strategies that are newish that architects can use in their buildings to let birds know.
What BirdSafe has been doing is recognizing schools and businesses and even individuals who are addressing this problem. And one of the things that certain businesses are doing is simply turning to decals on the windows. How do the decals work, and what do they do, Alex?
Right, so those are a series of stickers or etched patterns on the windows that basically create little small squares that birds perceive as places that you cannot go through.
And so, simple but effective?
Very effective.
Do we have any idea, Nick, of how much that reduces the number of bird crashes?
We do, actually. It really works. So the Memic building, which a lot of people know down by the Portland Harbor Hotel, was one of the buildings that we found a lot of strikes at during our surveys. We worked with them, all voluntary, to install decals on the dangerous face of their window. They cut their strikes down to 0 in our monitoring. So it works really well.
To 0?
To 0, and we've seen it in Portland work.
Were you surprised by how effective that was?
I mean, it was great to see in practice. We weren't surprised, but it's always nice to have it verified that how well it works.
Is this something that is starting to get into architects' minds when they are building or designing buildings from scratch from the very beginning?
I think so. I think we're learning that keeping screens in front of windows, whether that be a screen porch or maybe even a deep overhang that causes shadows, those are other ways that we can do this. There's fundamental things about the building that can change to help birds.
So this is kind of encouraging. This is not one of those extraordinarily difficult problems. This is something that really can be tackled?
It's really not. It's one of the reasons we're so proud to work on this issue, because this is something entirely within our control, something we can do about on a small scale, big scale level, and it works.
And people are getting on board among the award recipients because they've gotten involved in this. LL Bean with its building, its headquarters building at Saddleback, a new building there, Mid-Mountain. Screens have been put up, so things are happening around the state, right?
Things are happening. And actually, on Monday night in the city of Portland, we passed an ordinance to require new buildings of large commercial buildings to start to consider bird safe measures before they design. So it's much cheaper and easier to design a building with bird safety in mind than it is to retrofit a building after the fact. And so after Monday night, Portland is the first city in New England, one of a couple dozen in the country, to have such an ordinance. And we think it's going to make a difference in the long term.
So, as we mentioned, BirdSafe Maine has recognized various schools for educating students about bird strikes and making changes to buildings. At Yarmouth Elementary School, teachers have had a bird-safe curriculum for 2 years, and students wrote letters to school administrators asking them to take action on school windows. That led this year to the installation of bird-safe curtains. Things can get done when people put their minds to it. We've got more information on BirdSafe Maine. You can find it in the 207 section of our News Center Maine app or website.